This is your IELTS examination, and here especially you'll face the speaking test. And IELTS examination is a very easy examination. You don't need to be very hesitated and you don't feel any confused. We are very cooperative. Actually, it's a friendly exam. In this exam, you'll have to face 3 parts and you will stay 14 minutes or more. There are 3 parts. I have already said part 1, 2 and 3. Part 1, you'll be asked some familiar questions about yourself, your family or your study. In part 2, you'll be given a cue card that is describing something, and in the last part, in part 3, you will be asked some questions related to your part 2. This part is a discussion one, and this part is also called a part of negotiation. So let's start. What's your name?
My name is Albotin Hussain Abha. You can call me Abha.
Okay, everybody has name that has a meaning, and name represents something. So what is the meaning of your name?
Well, my name consists of many meanings. In the meaning of my name in Latin is life or bird, and in Bangla the meaning of my name is the ray of sun.
Okay, that's good. Are you a student, and what class do you read now?
Yes, I am a student. I am currently studying my IELTS.
Okay, let's discuss about a familiar topic, that is school days. Tell me something about your secondary school.
So I remember in my secondary school, we were not just in academic subjects, but we were encouraged to perform many other extracurricular activities by our teachers. They were very cooperative of us learning new things, like we were supposed to participate in dance classes or music classes, and our teachers also encouraged us to do some social work along with our studies, which we used to visit some children who were deprived of basic education and they didn't have access to books or any facilities regarding to their studies. So we used to distribute books among them, and most importantly, in my secondary school, we used to have a lot of fun time with our teachers and our friends, and that's what I remember from that.
Okay, which subject did you find most difficult at school, and why do you find this subject is very difficult for you?
The subject which I felt difficult in my school life, and even now that I am much older, that is maths. And that's not because mostly not is because I find it difficult, that I find math to be a bit harder subject, and that actually makes me feel a bit scared of the subject, and I don't really have the confidence to complete a certain problem or certain topic of mathematics. Because of that reason, I find that's the most difficult subject I find.
Do you ever need that subject now?
Yes, math is one of the most crucial subjects in any field we want to pursue. And not just in our professional life or our study life, we also need maths in our day-to-day lives. For example, if we have to just make a list of our groceries, we need maths to come calculate everything. And same goes for our career paths. Every profession requires mathematics in order to get in that profession. So we do, and I think math is one of the most crucial subjects.
Actually, in our life, we find school life. When we are student, we find it very boring and very tough for us. We don't like school life. Many people are like this. So the question is here for you. What did you enjoy about being a student in your school?
That children, and to their young age, to their adolescence, find it difficult to communicate with each other or with their parents or even teachers and people around them. So that's the main reason why we used to feel lonely or felt pretty depressed about our life. We thought there's no purpose of our life but to study, and we can't really enjoy because we have to complete our schoolwork and everything. But when I look back to the time when I was younger and I was in school, so I remember we used to have so much fun with our friends around, and we used to do so many interesting activities. We used to play outside, we used to we used to catch up on each other all the time in between our breaks, and our teachers and parents were also very cooperative, and that's the main reason I think that was a golden time of our life, which we will always and everyone will cherish forever.
What is the most unusual building you have ever seen? Why?
The most unusual building which I saw, not really in person, but I saw that online and I was really fascinated by it. And it's one of an old and very luxurious type of design of building, which is in Germany. It's in cathedral, but the art and architecture is really magnificent, and I was really interested in knowing more about that. And I got to know that this particular cathedral or this particular building took about 624 years to build, and I was just amazed by how delicately and precisely the building was made, and I really think that's the most unusual building I've ever seen.
Okay, our part 1 is over. Now we're going to the part 2, and in this part, as I said earlier, you will be given a cue card, and at first you will get 1 minute to write down some information you will need while you will be speaking. So here is a paper for you. And for this session you will get 1 minute, okay? Then you will be given 2 minutes to say your cue card. Here is your cue card. Your time starts now. Okay, your time is over. Now you have 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes to say. You may start.
One of the most interesting stories I've learned, which was not from the present but from the past. It was from the year maybe 2000, early 2000s, and I got to know about this recently. Until recently I didn't have any clue that what happened, and it was a vast and majority of the television and channels covered this story, and I just replayed it in this time, like recently I've learned about it, which was about the crashing of the Twin Tower in USA. And I didn't really had any idea what happened because I was maybe just 1 or 2 years old at the time, and when I got to know, I just tried to delve deep into the story, what actually happened, and I was really heartbroken to see that so many people lost their lives and died in this incident. And it was really brutal that many hijackers actually hijacked many planes and crashed into both the towers and many other important buildings of the country. And this story actually moved me that certain people can stoop too low in order to their benefit and can take lives of many innocent people. And in this story I got to know that all the towers were crashed in the span of 15 to 20 minutes, and how everything was executed. And it was really bone chilling to me that how precisely everything was being planned throughout.
Okay, your cue card part 2 is gone. Now we're going to the part 3, and in this part you some questions. This is a discussion part. This part is also called a part of negotiation. Reading newspapers. When do you like to read newspaper?
I tend to read newspapers in the early mornings when we get the newspaper, like new newspaper every morning when I'm having my breakfast or just sipping on my tea or coffee. I just enjoy reading news around the world and in my country what's happening.
Okay, how important is it for people to have a choice of newspaper every day as their habit?
I believe it's actually important to know what's happening around the world and in our country what's happening. People should be aware of our surroundings and be more aware of things that I don't see many people actually reading or knowing about newspaper or reading it, but I think they should be doing that because that makes them an aware individual and uh, give importance to the country and think more about it and how we can do better in future in order to face difficulties or make things better in our country.
Okay, how important? Actually, what does a good newspaper contain, you think?
A good newspaper should contain all the recent news, what's happening around us, which may include some positive accomplishments our country has done or other countries around the world has done, and also what are the negative effects are happening or negative newses which we should know and feel compassionate about and think about those. A good newspaper should hold a lot of information which are necessary for every individual to learn about.
But we see for selling the newspaper, people are interested in bad news or news that has a huge amount of rumors or negative things. So, how can a newspaper authority publish newspaper, or what should they publish? You think?
I think newspapers should not only focus on things which people are interested in reading, which always not be the case that everything is true. There might be rumors, as you mentioned. Rumors are not really always true because it may have some false information which everyone should not be knowing and might get distracted from the reality. And newspapers should take that in mind. Newspaper publishers should take that in mind that every news they're publishing should have accurate truthfulness and accurate information regarding what's happening actually.
Okay, let's discuss about the future of newspapers. Why do some people choose to read the newspapers or the news on the internet rather than in a newspaper? And it has now been a trend, and we are already facing this. So, what do you think about this?
I think that it's mostly because of the influence of the technological aspects which is influencing people to move towards reading in internet, and which is much more convenient than having the traditional printed newspapers because we can just read and know about what's happening by just reading anywhere and everywhere we go in our smartphones or on computers. But we can't really have the access to the printed newspaper everywhere. We can, but that's not actually much convenient to carry that everywhere, and we can just get fascinated by new newses and get much more information, and it's just fresh and new what we see on the internet.
Now we actually find newspapers printed and online side by side. So, will internet news ever replace newspaper, and why? You think?
I see that happening in the future, that majority of people are already converting the regular habits of reading newspaper in online rather than traditional newspapers. But I do feel like some people have developed a habit of reading newspaper in the morning with their cup of tea, and that's just a habitual factor which can affect that not everyone is going to convert or just replace the traditional newspaper to online.
So do you think that in the future, or in the near future, we'll go to the internet for newspaper? Do you think all news should be free at the time?
I believe so. Every news should be free because every individual in a country or anywhere in the world has the right to know what's happening around them, and it should be free for everyone to learn about everything that's happening around them.
Okay, our examination is done and you will get band score 7. Thank you very much for your score. But you have the potentiality to develop yourself. You are lacking of using vocabularies. I mean, your lexical resource should be very cared, and you must use structures, right? Dangerous structures. While you are speaking, you should be very conscious about your applying grammatical structures because it affects in IELTS result scoring. Okay, see you. Thank you very much. Bye.